Hi kids, welcome back to iLearn. We will continue our lesson last week about text types. We will discuss now what is enumeration and time order. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to distinguish text types according to purpose and features, enumeration and time order. Again, here are the four text types that we have: classification, explanation, enumeration, and time order. Let's review first. Classification is the process of categorizing text into organized groups, while on the other hand, explanation explains a process. For example, how something works or why something happens. Classification focuses on the different characteristics of the subject or the topic, while in the explanation, they focus on the flow of a topic. Now try this exercise to enhance your skills or knowledge. You need to read each paragraph and identify whether it is a classification or an explanation text type. In number 1, dogs are domesticated animals that had been living with humans for generations. Dogs can be classified in a number of different ways. Most notably, they can be categorized by breed. Examples of different breeds include beagles, basset hounds, golden retrievers, poodles, and countless others. What kind of text type does this paragraph shows? Is it classification or explanation? The correct answer is classification, because the paragraph shows examples of different breeds of dogs. Now you can continue answering this exercise. Number 2, let's read the paragraph. Lunar eclipse is one of the natural phenomena that we often encounter. This natural event occurs when the moon is in opposition to the sun, but the lunar opposition to the sun does not always result in a lunar eclipse. The correct answer is explanation type, because this paragraph explains and describes the natural phenomena lunar eclipse. Number 3, different students attend various types of schools. They can usually be classified as either public, private religious, private non-religious, or alternative. Public schools are funded by the state, and the majority of students in the United States attend them. Private schools are schools that do not receive federal funding, but are instead supported by a private organization or funding from individuals. The correct answer is classification, because this paragraph classifies the different schools students can attend, and it also compares what it means to be public or private schools. Number 4, poverty can be interpreted as a level of community income that is very low, so that in general the community cannot meet the basic daily needs such as food, shelter, education, and other needs. In general, the poor usually live in huts, under bridges, or on riverbanks. The correct answer is explanation, because this paragraph define what is poverty and give information where poor people live. Number 5, a tsunami is a high-speed ocean wave that suddenly arrives at the coast. The occurrence of a tsunami was caused by the emergence of volcanic activity, which resulted in an earthquake that occurred under the sea. The correct answer is explanation, because these paragraphs tell us where and how tsunami is made. Now we're done with our first exercise. Now, to sum it up, classification where the ideas are organized according to types, kinds, and segments, while explanation type explain the cause and effect of an event. Moving on to our new lesson, the third type is enumeration. An enumeration paragraph or text lists the kinds, characters, classes, types, parts, ways, and groups of a thing or subject. It simply lists down the kinds character written on the paragraph. It also uses transition or signal words, for example, in many ways, such as first or one, second or next, and so on. When we use first or one, we are counting the items. For example, the Earth's surface is constantly changing through slow processes that we don't usually see. One is erosion. This has worn away rocks and mountains over millions of years, caused by air, water, and wind. Another change is caused by earthquakes that originate deep inside the planet. More sudden and violent than erosion, an earthquake results when strains between Earth's plates produce shock waves. And the third process results when molten rock forming material called lava escapes onto the surface through gaps on the crust. What we experience is volcanic eruption. Notice the words one, another, and the third. Those are the transition or signal words we can use. We use this to indicate the processes of how the Earth's surface is changing. That is why this paragraph is an enumeration text type. The last text type is time order, a process or how the two text gives explanations or directions. Each sentence tells the next step in carrying out a process or in getting from one place to another. It simply tells you the step-by-step process of how to do something. We can also use transitional words, for example, first, second, third, then, before, after, during, and meanwhile. It gives you idea what is the first step in order to move to the next task. So that is how time order works. For example, let's read this paragraph. How to purify cloudy water boiling is perhaps the safest way to purify the cloudy water. You will need a boiling pot, fire, salt, a coffee filter or cloth, charcoal, and cotton. First, pre-filter the cloudy water with a cotton filter or folded cloth. Then boil the filtered water. Add a small amount of salt to improve the taste of the water as it is boiling. If you are about 2,000 feet altitude, boil for 3 minutes. Next, let the water cool. Meanwhile, make a cotton and charcoal filter by crushing the charcoal and putting it in the cotton as trap. This will remove impurities and still some bad taste from the boiled water. Finally, filter the boiled water through the cotton trap. This paragraph shows you the process of how to purify the cloudy water. We can identify the step because of these words first, then, next, meanwhile, and finally. But notice the word first because we can also use it in the enumeration text type. But the purpose of these transitional words differ in each type. When we use first in the enumeration text type, we are counting the items, while in the time order, we are stating the first step or task to finish a project or something. Okay, got it? Now time to practice and enjoy these exercises. Read the text below and answer the following questions. The Hertzsprung-Russell diagram shows the three very different types of stars. The first type is called the main sequence, which includes the Sun. These stars are fueled by nuclear fusion, converting hydrogen into helium. The hotter they are, the brighter they become. They last for about 5 billion years. The second type includes the supergiant. As they reach old age, they deplete their hydrogen supply. Their core contract as their outer layer expands. Eventually, they will explode becoming nebula or supernova, then white dwarfs, neutron stars, or black holes. Third, smaller stars consequently become white dwarfs, shrinking and depleting their nuclear fuels, finally becoming cold, dark, black dwarfs. These are the following questions you need to answer. Number 1, what is the paragraph about? Number 2, what things are enumerated to show the different types of stars? And number 3, what words or phrases signal the enumeration or listing? Here are the answers. In number 1, the paragraph is about the different kinds of stars. Number 2, there are 3 types of star which are the main sequence, supergiant, and smaller stars. And number 3, the signal words used in the paragraph were first, second, third, and finally. Moving on, here are the second exercise for you. Read the text, then complete the organizer that follow. As a grade 5 pupil, Emmanuel was already self-motivated and self-directed in many ways. He would assist his mother in some household chores and some errands. On days when there would be no classes, he would go with his father in the farm and would pasture the carabao to the fields. On weekdays, he would burn the midnight oil working on his assignments and studying his lessons. Complete the organizer using the previous paragraph. You need to indicate the general subject, the 3 ways, and the transitional or signal words used in the paragraph. The main subject of the paragraph is Emmanuel being self-directed and self-motivated. He shows it by assisting his mother, pasture the carabao, and working on his assignments and studying. The transition or signal words used is in many ways. The third exercise is you need to read the text below. Write numbers to order the sentence correctly. One afternoon after classes, Emmanuel's class advisor gave him an envelope for his parents. He immediately went home and handed the envelope to his mother. Hurriedly, his mother opened and then read the letter, informing them on Emmanuel's chance to enjoy a scholarship next school year in one of the prestigious schools in their town. At last, the fruits of a long, arduous labor since you were young are now being harvested. Now you are recognized and awarded this scholarship, his mother announced with joy. Using the previous paragraph, you need to write numbers here to order the following sentences. The correct order of the sentences is here. Number 1, Emmanuel's class advisor gave him an envelope for his parents. Second, he immediately went home and handed the envelope to his mother. Third, hurriedly, his mother opens the letter. Fourth, she read the letter informing them on Emmanuel's chance to enjoy a scholarship next school year in one of the prestigious schools in their town. And the fifth, at last, the fruits of a long arduous labor since you were young are now being harvested. Now you are recognized and awarded this scholarship, his mother announced with joy. Doing great? We still have 2 more exercises. Read the following paragraphs and distinguish the type for each text. Number 1, here is a fast and easy recipe for a special mashed sweet potato treat that serves 2 people. You begin with peeling 2 large potatoes and cooking them in a pot of boiling water. When a fork or knife inserted into them pulls out easily, you will know they are done. Then take them from the pot and drain them well. Next, place them in a large mixing bowl and add 2 tablespoons of butter. Mash with the potato masher until the lumps are gone. Meanwhile, in a skillet, melt a tablespoon of butter and add a bunch of chopped green onions. Cook them for about 1 minute and mix with the mash. Then add more butter if desired. Serve and eat. Is it enumeration or time order? The correct answer is time order because it gives you the process of how to cook special mashed sweet potato. It also uses signal words such as begin, then, next, meanwhile, and then that gives you hints where are the steps. Number 2. Digestive process begins when food enters the mouth. After the mouth chews and swallows the food, it goes to the throat and then travels to the esophagus or swallowing tube. Next, the esophagus, through a series of contractions called peristalsis, delivers the food to the stomach, which acts as the storage tank. The stomach contains hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes, which, when mixed with the food begins to break down into smaller molecules. Then the food enters the small intestine, wherein 90% of the food nutrients have been extracted here and absorbed by the body. The remaining goes to the large intestine as waste product. Finally, this waste product is excreted from the body as a solid matter called stool. This paragraph is a time order text type because it shows you the process how we digest our food inside our stomach. The transitional words used are after, next, then, and finally. Number 3, the atmosphere is composed of different levels. The first level, called Troposphere, is the nearest to Earth, about 11 km thick. Most clouds and weather are found in this layer. Next is the Stratosphere, which is about 11 to 48 km above the Earth's surface. In it is the ozone layer, which absorbs most of the harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. The Mesosphere is above the Stratosphere, in which the atmosphere is very rarefied, and the temperature decreases with altitude. The fourth layer is the Thermosphere, which starts at about 55 km. The temperature is so hot that it cannot be measured by a thermometer. Temperature may be thousands of degrees high. The second to the last is the Exosphere, the region beyond the Thermosphere. Finally, the Ionosphere overlaps the other layers from above the Earth. The air is ionized by the sun's ultraviolet rays. These ionized layers affect the transmittance and reflectance of radio waves. All in all, there are 6 levels of the Earth's atmosphere. The correct answer is enumeration because the paragraph stated the 6 levels of the Earth's atmosphere. We can identify the different levels using these transitional words: first, next, fourth, second, and finally. And finally, before we end, you need to write your reflection or your personal insight about this lesson. Good job, kids, and see you next week. Goodbye.